when you were a lawyer for the state of California, you filed a lawsuit against Crunch Fitness, a gym, for not moving quickly enough to allow a biological male to use the women's locker room.
The plastics industry must be stopped.
What's going to replace your glasses? Like,
So I
would you
do
wear your
know.
glasses around your face? They're made of plastic. Your cell phone there. Is it plastic?
The cases.
Take a personal note of privilege to say, please keep Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s name out of your mouths.
How about we'll quote whoever we want to quote? How about that's my First Amendment right? Like, how dare a white Republican quote Martin Luther King? We actually had a congressman say that just now in this committee.
Ever seen a senator completely destroy the woke culture? Well, let's take a look at Senator Ted Cruz humbling this woke woman, right after you subscribe, of course.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Judge Thomas, welcome. As I look at your record, it continues a pattern nominating individuals to the bench who have long careers as activists. Throughout the course of this hearing, you have explained some of your prior positions as simply representing a client. But when I look at your career, I don't see that. I see that you are passionately committed to a particular vision of the law. It has ranged from filing briefs in litigation in the state of Texas, defending race-based discrimination in university admissions, to most consistently transgender activism, and I would submit extremism. And this hasn't been one client you had in one case. This has rather been a consistent pattern that extended when you were a lawyer for the state of California, that extended when you were a lawyer for the U.S. Department of Justice, that extended when you were a lawyer for the state of New York. In 3 different jurisdictions, you have been involved in litigation on the extremes of transgender issues. And in particular, you've carved out an expertise for yourself using litigation to force institutions to allow biological males to use restroom facilities and locker facilities that are also used by girls, young girls, that are used by women. And this has been a pattern. When you were a lawyer for the state of California, you filed a lawsuit against Crunch Fitness, a gym, for not moving quickly enough to allow a biological male to use the women's locker room. When you were a lawyer for the state of New York, you filed briefs against the state of Texas, against the state of North Carolina, again, advocating for biological males to use girls' and women's restrooms. And, you know, the thing I find troubling about these arguments is it seems the women and girls never have any rights. That the girls that would like to shower next to someone who is not a biological male, who would like some privacy, their rights never seem to matter. And your pattern, it's not a single case. It is across 3 jurisdictions over and over again. In the Texas case, the brief you filed said, quote, "There is no data or tangible evidence in support of the claim that allowing people to use bathrooms corresponding with their gender identity will lead to increased violence or crime in restrooms." Do you stand by that statement?
Thank you for the question, Senator Cruz. Again, as an advocate, you advocate for the positions of your client. I haven't been an advocate for 3 years. I've been a judge. And when
3 years is not very long. And my question is simple. Do you stand by that statement?
Senator Cruz, it would not be appropriate or consistent with my ethical duties to my former clients to comment on my personal views about any case that I worked on. What my duty was to advocate zealously for my clients. I have set aside the advocacy role, and I now occupy a judicial role. where what you're
Judge,
guided
your
by.
brief also contended, quote, in states where anti-discrimination protections are already the law, the predicted safety harm has never materialized. You made a bold, aggressive, factual statement, by the way. In North Carolina, you said safety concerns were, quote, unfounded. You were an aggressive advocate, an activist advocate. And I believe the statements that you represented to the court, and those are statements that you're making as an officer of the court, I believe they were false, and they are extreme. You testified to this committee that you were not aware of what happened in Loudoun County until this morning. I find that remarkable for someone who has spent years as one of the leading activists for allowing transgender biological men to use girls' restrooms and women's restrooms. In Loudoun County, Scott Smith, who's the parent of a 14-year-old girl, alleged the Loudoun County School Board covered up the sexual assault by a gender-fluid individual against his 9th grade daughter who entered the girls' bathroom in a skirt. And this individual was charged with 2 counts of forcible sodomy, 1 count of anal sodomy, and 1 count of forcible fellatio. The school district covered it up. They released this predator, and the predator committed sexual assault again, twice. Why did you represent to the court that concerns about violent sexual predators committing violent crimes against young girls are unfounded and speculative? Why did you represent that to the court?
Thank you for the question. I advocated on behalf of my clients based upon the data that we had at the time, and I zealously did so in those cases and in every other case that I handled.
Were you right?
Senator Cruz, it would not be appropriate for me to comment on the merits of any personal views regarding litigation that I handled on behalf of my clients.
Well, these little girls who
let her respond.
will have a very different assessment.
Senator Cruz,
these little girls who were assaulted. Thank you for your views, but
you're past time. Let's afford Ms. Thomas an opportunity
she is
to respond to your
perfectly
question.
welcome to respond. But as I said, the little girls who were in Loudoun County would have a very different assessment of whether this threat and danger is speculative or not, and you're more than welcome to respond.
Thank you. I will just conclude by saying again that I understand the difference between being an advocate and being a judge. I am a judge now, and what I'm guided by is the record before me and the law, and that is what I do now, and it's what I'll continue to do if confirmed.
Thank you.
So Ted Cruz didn't hold back against the woke woman, but another senator who decided to humble the woke culture is Senator Mark Wayne Mullen. Just take a look at this.
You want to end all plastic manufacturing?
I said the plastics industry must be stopped.
So does that mean end plastic manufacturing?
I mean, in my dream world, sure, but I think that, go ahead.
No, so I don't mean to be condescending here. I just point out, what's going to replace your glasses? Like,
So I
would you
do
wear your
know,
glasses around your face? They're made of plastic.
maybe.
No,
I don't know what they're made out of.
They are. What
So-
about, and I just point out some things here because I just want to be realistic when we're having conversations, because when statements are made like this, I just want to open people's eyes and say, well, okay, that's easy to say, but what's the solution? Your water bottle in front of you.
This one?
Yes. That plastic?
No.
The lid is. That's plastic.
Right. So
Right.
I would say to
Your
your
cell phone-
question that I would first be concerned about single-use plastics, and then we can talk about alternatives to this.
Your cell phone there. Is it plastic?
The cases, but it's glass because I broke
Oh, the components
this
inside of it's
screen
not
yesterday.
plastic? The components made out of it's not plastic? Yeah, they are. The water that you filled that water bottle up with, where'd you fill that water bottle up out of?
A water filling station.
All right, and it was delivered by a drink station that was plastic?
I didn't check.
The edges are. The piping coming to it. Now, you have a couple of choices with the piping. We could go back to using wood, but then you have to line it in chemical. Or we could go back and use lead, because we used to have water piping that was lead. That was harmful to us. We go back to galvanized, but galvanized rust and had discoloration. We go back to copper, but copper has to be mined, and everybody wants to stop mining in the U.S. So you use plastic to deliver piping that you fill that water bottle up with today. I point this out because the clothes you have on, I guarantee you have plastic in it. The shoes you have on your feet, the soles of those shoes are plastic. So we talk about any plastic manufacturing, and everybody in here cheers when you say that, but everybody here is depending on plastic as you set. So if you want to end it, then quit using it. It's kind of like, I don't shop at certain places right now because I don't agree with some of their policies. I choose not to do that. You can choose to not use plastic. Do your work. If you believe it, then live it that way.
Look, we are only just getting started since a retired veteran senator decided to speak up to this woke woman, and the courtroom got heated in seconds.
And I'd also just like to take a personal note of privilege to say, please keep Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s name out of your mouths. Yes. Your perversion of his words and his mission when his children have asked you to stop invoking his name and perverting his work when he was a proud and unapologetic black man fighting for equality for black Americans and all marginalized people. So you all are entitled to your opinions, but not a denial of the facts. But I'm not surprised that you would deny American history. A colleague across the aisle invoked the phrase of, we must do everything to stop government-sponsored oppression. Well, I've just enumerated numerous examples, which is exactly why we have legislation and an executive order to reverse this harm. And that is why I'm committed to opposing this bill and urge my colleagues to do the same.
I thank my colleague, and I appreciate my Democrat colleague for exemplifying exactly the kind of oppression of freedoms that we're referencing. How about we'll quote whoever we want to quote? How about that's my First Amendment right? That's exactly the kind of baked-in oppression. Like, how dare a white Republican quote Martin Luther King? We actually had a congressman say that just now in this committee. Well, thank you, good lady, for once again exemplifying the type of oppression that we stand against. You know I'm right. You know I'm right.
Order. Mr. Higgins has the floor.
And we will quote who we please to quote.
A disgrace.
And we will continue to speak freely because I'm a veteran. That's the country that I serve. That's the Constitution I swore allegiance to. And that oath has no expiration date. I will fight for it with my last life's blood. For my right to speak freely and yours, good lady. You will never hear me saying, how dare you quote anybody you please to quote. And that exemplifies, America, precisely the type of institutional oppression that my colleague, Mr. Cloud's bill, for which I'm an original co-sponsor, hopes to push back against.
Next, we have the new border czar, which is Tom Homan, who decided to just be straightforward when questioned about his zero border tolerance.
Mr. Homan, your name is on this. Is this correct?
Yes, I signed that memo.
So you are the author of the family separation policy?
I am not the author of this memo.
You're not the author, but you signed the memo.
Yes, a zero tolerance memo.
So you provided the official recommendation to Secretary Nielsen on for the United States to pursue family separation.
I gave Secretary Nielsen numerous recommendations on how to secure the border and save lives.
But it says here that you gave her numerous options, but the recommendation was option 3, family separation.
What I'm saying, this is not the only paper where we've given the Secretary numerous options to secure the border and save lives.
And so the recommendation Of the many that you recommended family separation,
I recommend a zero tolerance.
which includes family separation.
The same as is with every U.S. citizen parent gets arrested when they're with a child.
Zero tolerance was interpreted as the policy that separated children from their
If I get arrested for DUI and I have a young child in the car, I'm going to be separated. When I was a police officer in New York and I arrested a father for violence, I separated that father
Mr.
from his
Holman,
family.
with all due respect, legal asylees are not charged with any crime.
When you're into the country illegally, it's violation 8 United States Code 1325.
Seeking asylum is legal.
If you want to seek asylum and go through the port of entry, do it the legal way. The Attorney General of the United States has made that clear.
Okay.
Look, the wokeness doesn't even stop here, as another senator decided to completely humble a woke climate activist student.
What is carbon dioxide?
I went to high school, but that's carbon dioxide is a gas.
Okay.
I'm not a professional to talk about carbon dioxide so much, but
Well, you want us to abolish it, right?
no, there's always going to be carbon dioxide.
Right. So what is it you want us to do? Let me back up, because I want to, I mean, you're here as an expert. Tell me more about what carbon dioxide is.
I'm here as an expert cross-country skier who sees the changes in my winters and the landscape that I live in Alaska. And so carbon dioxide is what I see it as is, you know, it's a gas that exists in our atmosphere. And
What, is it the major part of our atmosphere? Or?
it's a huge part of our atmosphere, yes.
It's actually a very small part of our atmosphere.
Well, okay. But, yeah, I don't know. What are you asking specifically?
Well, you say we need to reduce carbon dioxide emissions. I'd like to know first if you know what it is. You want us to abolish fossil fuels?
I never said that.
You never have said that?
No.
Okay. What do you think we ought to do with fossil fuels?
What will we do with fossil fuels?
Yeah. Should we make any changes?
I would like to see a decrease in the use of fossil fuels. I think there's a possibility to use more electric generation.
Okay. Over what period of time? 10 years, 50 years, 100 years?
That's not, I would like to see it come as fast as possible while continuing.
How fast?
Sorry?
How fast?
I don't have a good answer for that, no.
Okay. You just think, well, how much will it cost for us to become carbon neutral in the United States by 2050?
I'm not a professional on that. I don't have an answer.
You don't have any idea?
No.
You just think we ought to spend the money?
I'm not an economist.
Yeah, but it's going to cost money. You realize that?
Yeah, but we've also talked about the trade-off of what the cost of climate change as emergencies will cost in the future also. So.
Right, but it's going to cost trillions of dollars to become carbon neutral by 2050, right?
I do not know.
You don't know. You just think we ought to do it.
I don't have a great answer for you, but I think I would. Like
if we spent those trillions of dollars and became carbon neutral by 2050 in the United States, which you advocate, how much will it reduce world temperatures?
I don't have an answer for that.
You don't know?
No.
You just think we ought to spend the money and then see what happens?
I think as an athlete, I think if we spend that money and invest in our future, hopefully those temperatures stop rising and maybe the snow at least stabilizes where it is for me. But yeah, I don't think anyone knows for sure. I don't know anyway.
Do you think this boy should have taken more years in school? Comment your thoughts down below and see you next time.